Welcome back to the program. So, I want to talk about a couple things. Obviously, we're seeing what's happening in Chicago, we're seeing what's happening in Portland, Memphis, and more than likely, you're going to see, I think, Tucson, Arizona sometime in November, according to my sources, but we'll see what happens. But one thing that I want to point out is that what's happening in Portland in particular is not just these people being arrested and charged with a misdemeanor or even like a light felony where they might be looking at 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 years or anything like that. No, 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 no. No, 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 not anymore. If it can be proven that the people that are being arrested are affiliated with Antifa, whether through communication, social media, somehow they have forensic evidence on their phones, whatever it may be, if they can prove that, I am hearing, not just from Elon Musk, which you're going to hear from in a minute, but I am hearing from people inside this administration that they are going to be charging people under domestic terrorism. So these folks that think that they can attack ICE at these facilities, you're not talking 4 or 5 years. No, you're talking 20, 25, 30 years, depending on how bad the crime is and the charges are. These people that are attacking ICE, for whatever reason, doesn't matter if they physically attack ICE and touch them, throw things at their vehicles, cross into them, bump into them, hit them with something. These folks are being charged under domestic terrorism. That's why it was so important to designate them as a terrorist organization, because now not only do the charges get amplified, but the tools in which they can take down these people is way, way more. Okay? Now, I'm going to play you a video, and we're going to stop it and talk about it a little bit. It's Elon Musk, and he's basically trying to tell people that the game has changed. Certainly in Portland, the game has changed. And these people have no idea. They think they're just going to be arrested and released. No, 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 no. These are going to be domestic terrorism charges. Maybe not all, but a lot of them are going to be. Listen to this.
For years, Antifa has been portrayed as nothing more than a loose collection of angry people in black masks. But now, for the first time in American history, they're facing mass arrests, not just as vandals, but as terrorists. And when the money trail behind them gets exposed, that could be the final nail in the coffin. Today we're going to break this down step by step, how we got here, why it matters, and what this means for you. Because the question everyone's asking is this finally the end of Antifa, or is it just the beginning? I remember watching the news a few years back during the summer riots, cities burning, small businesses that families had built over decades, reduced to rubble overnight. Portland looked like a war zone. Seattle had entire neighborhoods taken over. And the thing that struck me most wasn't just the destruction, it was how helpless ordinary people felt. Business owners boarding up their windows, not knowing if they'd have a livelihood come Monday morning.
The real reason Korean women are so skinny and how Hollywood
commercial.
celebs secretly are using it.
Families afraid to walk their own streets. Maybe you saw it too. Maybe you thought about your own neighborhood, your own community, and wondered how things got so out of control. Because this wasn't just random chaos. When you see the same tactics repeated in city after city, when you see coordinated attacks on federal buildings, when you see people showing up with identical gear and strategies, that's not spontaneous anger. That's organization. And here's where it gets interesting. For the longest time, we were told this was just an idea. You'd hear politicians and talking heads on cable news say, Antifa isn't really a group, it's just anti-fascism. It's just people angry about injustice. But ideas don't throw Molotov cocktails. Ideas don't coordinate tactical responses across multiple cities. Ideas don't have logistics chains that supply masks, shields, and incendiary devices to hundreds of people simultaneously. So what changed? What made this scattered network of angry protesters into something more formidable? Well, the same thing that makes any movement powerful: infrastructure, communication, and most importantly, funding. You see,
That's where I wanted to stop right there for a second. Funding is the key. If you can get these people and you can charge them under what's known as the RICO, right? RICO Act, which has been used to take down the mob, take down other gangsters throughout history, things like that. Now you can go and you can subpoena all of it. All of the open society, all of George Soros, all of it. And so what he's basically saying is exactly what I've been saying for the longest time. And now that they are indeed a terrorist organization, clearly we can go and subpoena the records of all these different places. Now, what I find interesting is that after the designation happened, George Soros and the Open Society put out a statement saying that they denounce terrorism and that they don't believe in political violence. Now, you got to ask yourself, why would they put out that statement? Why would they immediately put out a defensive statement to try to distance themselves from something that they know they're involved with? It's very interesting. So then he goes on to talk a little bit more. Let me see here. I'll find a good spot.
Approaches these cases. The catalyst was an incident in Eugene, Oregon, at an ICE facility. Federal officers were conducting enforcement operations, and a group showed up not to peacefully protest, but to attack. They threw objects at agents, they vandalized federal property, they attempted to intimidate and terrorize law enforcement officers who were simply doing their jobs. This wasn't civil disobedience, this was coordinated assault. And this came right on the heels of something even more disturbing, the Dallas ICE shooting. A detainee was killed, 2 others wounded. The shooter left behind explicit notes saying he wanted to maximize casualties among federal agents. He inscribed anti-ICE messages on his ammunition. He used tracking apps that some in the media had actually promoted.
And by the way, he's being charged under terrorism charges. He is, he's dead, right? Yeah, he's dead, actually dead. Never mind.
Apps designed to help people locate and monitor ICE agents' movements. The apps were supposedly to help undocumented immigrants avoid enforcement.
So he's talking about the apps as well. The bottom line on the apps is finally Apple, not Android yet, but Apple has complied, and they are no longer allowing the ICE tracking apps on their phones. But Android so far has not done yet and followed that lead. So then I don't know. I guess he was just doing a video, just going through a lot of this stuff. But here, just this one little part. This is the important part.
Is a different. Once you start charging.
This is where he starts talking about just this one part. He starts talking here about how because they are now a terrorist organization, the rules have changed.
Acted swiftly. Federal agents moved in on multiple Antifa militants in Eugene. They arrested them en masse. And for the first time in American history, these individuals are being prosecuted not as rowdy protesters, but as terrorists. That word matters. That designation carries weight. Because once you label a group a terrorist organization, once you start charging individuals under those statutes, the government's toolkit expands dramatically. Let me explain how this works in simple terms. Under normal circumstances, if someone commits assault or vandalism, they get charged with those specific crimes. The penalties are limited. The investigation focuses on that individual act. But terrorism charges are different. Terrorism charges allow prosecutors to look at the bigger picture, the network, the funding, the coordination. It's not just about what one person did on one night. It's about the entire structure that enabled and encouraged that action. And here's where it gets even more powerful. There's a legal framework called RICO, the Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act. It was originally designed to take down organized crime syndicates, the mafia, cartels. The idea is simple but devastating. If you can prove that an organization exists to commit crimes, you can prosecute not just the people who pulled the trigger or threw the brick, but everyone who supported them.
Exactly. And that's where I'll just stop it. He talks about other stuff, about space and all this other stuff. But that part, the meat and potatoes of that part, was the most important. Because the bottom line is, these kids have no idea what they're messing around with. This is not going to be where a local prosecutor isn't going to prosecute. These are federal charges. These are not state charges, because the National Guard and ICE and everything are in there. So if you assault an officer, a federal officer, it's a different charge. And if you can be proven to be part of a terrorist organization, you're going down for the count. 25, 30 years. I mean, it could be, who knows, depending on how bad the crime is. So I wanted to just kind of point that out, because these folks have no idea what they're doing and who they're messing with. But they're going to find out. And it's going to be a major FAFO for a lot of these folks. And Portland is going to be Antifa free in short order. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one. Welcome back to the program. So I have been saying for the longest time, it's cost me dearly in my career, that Ilhan Omar, or Ilhan Noor Saeed Elmi, is indeed a terrorist. I said that well over 5 years ago, and it remains the same today. I don't have to go through all her different associations and all the things that I discovered about her. We already know those stories, so there's no point in going through all that. But one of the things that I said is that she was close to CARE, which is a terrorist organization designated as such in 2014 by the United Arab Emirates. She has also been very close to people in Hamas and Hezbollah. She has been close to other people in the Muslim Brotherhood. And quite frankly, because of Somalia and the fact that Somalia has had numerous ties to terrorist organizations, and the fact that you have Little Mogadishu in her district in Minnesota, which is the largest Somalian population in the entire world outside of the country of Somalia, well, clearly she has some people around her and associates around her that she is close with that are absolute terrorists. And it just so happens to be that one of them tried to join ISIS and, even better, was a donor to Ilhan Omar. That's right. Remember the guy you heard about a few days ago who was arrested with weapons at a, a Houston ICE facility? And he was deported like 5 times and he kept coming back and everything else. Well, he was an original Somalian that came here under Barack Obama, thanks a lot, and was placed in Minnesota, okay? Well, it turns out that this guy also was a donor to Ilhan Omar. So imagine that. She's taking money from people that tried to join ISIS. A Minnesota man pleaded guilty this week attempting to join ISIS. Not only praised terrorists and twice tried to travel overseas to fight for the group, he also donated to Representative Ilhan Noor Saeed Elmi Omar's political campaign as well. He is a convicted supporter of one of the world's most violent terrorist organizations and directly fundraising network and giving money to a sitting member of Congress, who, by the way, said, I'm here to represent Somalia, not the United States of America. So Bernstein, 5 years ago, was right on the money and right on target, and I've been on target with this idiot all of these years. And yes, it has cost me financially and has cost me dearly. But you know what? I was right. And all the people that banned me and all the people that came after me and all the people that wrote bad things about me and said I was crazy and a conspiracy theorist and that she's not a terrorist, I was right. I was right. Vindication. So let's see. On October 1st, 2025, federal prosecutors announced that they arrested Abdissattar Ahmed Hassan, 23, of Minnesota, right in the same area of her district. He pleaded guilty to one count of attempting to provide material support and resources to ISIS, a designated foreign terrorist organization. Hassan has long promoted jihad online, calling for the overthrow of the Somali government. This was the other government, not under Saeed Bayar's dictatorship, but under another one. Then he tried to go to Somalia to fight with ISIS, okay? And also was praising attacks here in the homeland, okay, in America. He wanted to have a government establishment of an Islamic caliphate. According to the court filings, the social media accounts contained ISIS propaganda, black ISIS flag logos, and praise for mass casualty attacks, including the January 1st, New Year's Day 2025 New Orleans attack that killed 14 people. Hassan referred to the killer of that attack as, quote, a legend that killed Americans. Federal agents documented that in December of 2024, Hassan made 2 separate attempts to travel one way from Minnesota to Somalia to join ISIS. On his first attempt, he was denied due to lack of travel documents. After acquiring a visa, he attempted to travel again, but this time, thankfully, was intercepted by Customs and Border Protection in Chicago. Agents found his naturalization papers, diploma, and electronic devices loaded with ISIS propaganda, recruitment messages, PDF files, manuals, buildings on buildings, visuals on buildings, architectural designs on buildings, explosive devices, C4, how to create nitrate bombs, you name it. The FBI further recovered messages where Hassan referred to an ISIS recruiter as, quote, his uncle and as his comrade, and declared, quote, I will become ISIS straight away, end quote. In one video posted online, he waved a homemade ISIS flag while driving through Minnesota. In another, he displayed a knife on his lap. He openly admitted to these agents that he supports ISIS, he consumed ISIS information daily, and believed in creating an Islamic caliphate. Hassan's guilty plea was accepted in the U.S. District Court in Minnesota before Judge Donovan Frank. He remains in federal custody pending sentencing. He's facing up to 20 years in prison and fines up to $250,000. But what has gone underreported is the fact that according to the Federal Election Commission records, they show that Hassan made contributions, multiple contributions, to Representative Ilhan Omar's campaign committee, which operates in Minnesota's 5th Congressional District in the same community Hassan had lived in. So imagine that. You have a member of Congress who I called an infiltrator back then. I said that she was a terrorist, and I say it now. And she supports all these people that are in terrorist organizations. And I have no doubt, if we ever subpoenaed Ilhan Omar's phone, her computers, if we looked at her hard drives, I guarantee you we would find connections to terrorist organizations throughout the entire world. Guaranteed. As a matter of fact, I would love for President Trump to go in to Little Mogadishu next. Send the National Guard and ICE into Little Mogadishu, St. Paul, Minneapolis area of Minnesota, and clean out the rat's nest. That's what he needs to do. Now, before we go on this segment, New York, you are stupid, okay? You are absolutely stupid. If you live in New York City, you're an idiot. If you vote for this Mamdani, then you are basically voting for somebody that probably supported the people that took down the World Trade Center towers, okay? It's not even about financial issues and the socialism and all that. No, this guy hates Jews. This guy hates America, and he is an infiltrator, just like Ilhan Omar and Ilhan Noor Saeed Elmi. And if you don't think that's the case, well, a pro-Mamdani PAC took donations from an Islamic cleric who vouched for the terror plot mastermind. And I'll get into this one right here, for the 1993 World Trade Center bombing. That's right. A super PAC supporting Zohran Mamdani's campaign for New York City mayor accepted $1,000 from a Muslim cleric linked to the architects of the 1993 World Trade Center bombing and other terrorist plots. Imam Siraj Wahhaj donated to the super PAC Unity Fund and Justice Fund in May, days before it funneled most of its money in a PAC exclusively supporting Mamdani for mayor, campaign finance records show. Wahhaj has called for an Islamic State in America, and Mary Jo White, formerly the Assistant U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, named him among involved people who are, quote, unindicted persons in the trial of a terror plot mastermind that praised Wahhaj as a, quote, strong preacher of Islam. White's memo also said that the people on that list may be alleged as co-conspirators, but Wahhaj was never charged. And then it says, Unity and Justice Fund, Mamdani's campaign, and Wahhaj, who leads the Brooklyn-based mosque Masjid at Taqwa, did not respond to multiple requests for comment from the Daily Caller News Foundation. Wahhaj has denied any involvement in criminal conspiracies since the trial and called the FBI and CIA the real terrorists. So of course he would. 3 children of Wahhaj also received life sentences in 2024 on terrorism, kidnapping, and conspiracy to murder charges for organizing a jihadist training compound in New Mexico used to plot attacks against the United States government, according to the Department of Justice. Wahhaj told the press that he helped police find the training compound by reporting its location to the authorities. So in other words, he's trying to say that he's not involved. Yeah, right. In 1995, prosecutors named this imam among dozens who were co-conspirators in the trial of several men convicted of planning a terrorist attack campaign that included the first World Trade Center attacks. Court records show the 1993 bombing killed 6 people and injured more than 1,000 others, while the other violent plans were thwarted. Al-Qaeda terrorists destroyed the World Trade Center's Twin Towers 8 years later in the 9/11 attacks. Defense lawyers used Wahhaj in the 1995 case as a character witness for Omar Abdel Rahman, a cleric who later served a life sentence, according to media reports and court documents at the time. Prosecutors said Abdel Rahman, commonly known as the Blind Sheikh, helped orchestrate plans to murder hundreds of Americans and attack U.S. military installations and assassinate Egypt's then president. Several people connected to the World Trade Center bombing attended or visited Wahhaj's Brooklyn Mosque around the time of the massacre. Abdel Rahman died in 2017. So now you have basically somebody in New York that's running for mayor that possibly is going to be elected because of dumb, stupid, white, liberal, single, dumb women. And it's white women that are only voting for him. Black women are smarter, and Hispanic women are smarter. It's these stupid white women with their septic rings, their weird hair colors, and their big, stupid glasses. Those are the ones that are going to go out in droves because they're wealthy and they're elitist scum, and they're going to go out and vote for Mamdani. Hopefully there's not enough of them, okay? And he doesn't win. But New York, if you vote for this guy, you are voting to slit your own throat, okay? Because that's what he will do to the city. And who knows, he might even do it to the people, okay? He is dangerous. He is tied to terrorism. He is being funded. 78% of all the money for this scumbag mayor candidate comes from outside of New York. 78%, okay? Now, if we had updated information from like Open the Books and things like that, we would have a list of all of those donations. But most of those donations are shell donations. What does that mean? Well, that means that they're put through by other people into other categories, into other companies, and then into a pack. And so they're washed basically, so you can't see exactly where the money's coming from. I'm telling you, once again, if New York does this, you are going to reap what you sow. And it's going to be a disaster for New York. Did you not learn anything from 9/11? Unbelievable. I can only hope and pray there's enough people in New York that have enough common sense to go out and vote for anyone but Mamdani. Anyone. And quite frankly, I would vote for the grandma killer. Forget Curtis Sliwa, because all he's going to do is split the vote. So if you're a Republican, if you're an independent in New York, hold your nose and vote for the grandma killer just to stop the Islamic caliphate that this idiot wants to put into New York City. Those are my warnings. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you on the next one. Actually, that's enough. I'll just do 2. Fuck it.